Hello and welcome to another breakdown of the structural integration series. In this video we're going to be discussing session 3. So every session of the series is like predetermined, working on a specific part of the body over the whole series, trying to balance everything out if that is a thing. But every session we're going to try to work on a particular issue or area of the body. So for session 3, the main goal is to open up the area between the hip and the rib cage, and also freeing the scapula from the body. So in this session I will generally be working the whole sideline. So in some weight places that use structural integration, they call this one the sideline, or if you look like at acupuncture, we're looking at like the picture right behind me, that sideline of the body. So this gallbladder line kind of runs through that whole side. So lots of areas that we're working on, but the main goals would be freeing up that side, specifically right above the hips and in between, right below the rib cage, especially that 12th rib, which is usually the QL, so the quadratus lumborum. That's the main kind of muscle that we're working on there. And the other big area will be to free the scapula from the body. So sometimes a lot of people have a lot of issues, especially with upper back issues, shoulder issues. The scapular muscles can be kind of stuck, locked in tight tension in there. So through this session we're going to be working on digging in through that whole line. The whole sideline does get established, but those two areas will be kind of the most important ones, the ones we're working on the most. And again, so there, the main one in question is going to be the QL, the quadratus lumborum. A lot of times, if we don't have access to that, the QL actually is in charge of this side hip movement. So when we're walking, does the ability of the hip bone, can that move up and down for that, allow that person to move? So a lot of this back pain, although it's going to be tied into the psoas, it's actually going to be the QL as well, is going to be one of the primary muscles that we're going to be looking at. So in this session, we're kind of reviewing some of the work that we did in the first session, working in the hip, with the big idea of really getting into that QL. And this tends to be one of the sessions where I start to get a little deeper into the hip. So allows me, in my clinic, I work the psoas from this functional range perspective, are in the front, but the QL, which typically is done from the side, and I do access some of it from this side, I do tend to get it from the front as well. So in this session, I'm actually diving in through the front. And instead of working on the psoas, working on this QL portion from the front side. So working deep into the front of the abdomen, trying to get to these deeper tissues. And in that case, people are gonna have some very stuck issues looking in there. After that, we're looking at the scapula. So does that person have access to move their shoulder blade? A lot of times, folks who are having this upper back pain, pain in between the shoulder blades, that's going to be some variation of either some muscle tension along the spine. So looking at these multifidi, these muscles in between your spinous processes and your transverse process, so little pointy edges. So the one's pointing straight up, that's going to be your spinous process, and a little bitty one to the side of that will be the transverse process. So there's like little bitty muscles that run all along that line, and that's what we're going to try to get into, but as well as the scapula itself. So can that person move the scapula? Do they have full access for your scapula, their shoulder blade, to move along the upper back? So freeing that, and a lot of times it's going to be not only the scapular muscles itself or the spinal muscles itself, but their combination and how the body can twist, rotate with the scapular muscles. And so that's going to be freeing. But we're also looking at the front. So Although some of the scapular muscles are in the front, I like to work the front although some of the scapular muscles are in the back, I also like to work the front of the body, or at least in this particular problem that we're working on, the front of the shoulder blade. So the pec minors are going to be very important. So again, this session is almost getting to this point where it's a very important, we're working almost the whole body, but the main goals are freeing up that QL area and moving a little bit better with the shoulder blade. So after this session, most folks tend to feel a lot freer in the hips, maybe able to walk a little better, specifically able to move the shoulder blade, so reaching forward and pinching the shoulder blades back, especially if they were having issues in this area. A really important area to get work done. So stay tuned to the video where we break down the actual session in regards to the muscles and the kind of joints involved and things that we're going to be looking at when we're working in this session. So things of that nature, from this functional range perspective, looking at the cars, the controlled articular rotations. So hope that gives you a little bit of an idea of what we're going along through the series, and I hope you watch the next video. See you then.